Good morning to our listeners here on Long Island. It's a pleasure to welcome you to another episode of Suffolk Matters, where Suffolk County meets Suffolk AME. So this morning our guest is Chris Murphy. He's the chairman of the media committee for the New York State Parade and Drill Team Captains Association. He's also the commissioner of the Central Islip Fire Department and FDNY lieutenant, and joined by AME Vice President Tom Moran. Good morning to both of you.
Morning.
Morning, Dan.
So, what is the New York Parade and Drill Team Captains Association, just to get everybody up to speed and what we're talking about today?
So, folks across Long Island have probably seen something along these lines for a long time, but maybe didn't know what the heck was going on, right?
Right.
But the New York State Parade and Drill Team Captains Association is here to, they're actually the sanctioning agency that coordinates all these competitions between the drills and the parades.
Okay, and so these events are where, various fire departments from across the state of New York get together and, it's I guess, a friendly competition showing their skills and, I guess, in a way, also, kind of keeping everybody's skills honed because you don't want to be the guy that finishes last. But it's something that, lots of people come down to witness, and if I'm not mistaken, one of the last ones that you guys hosted had, somewhere in excess of 3,000 people attending and watching, and it's various types of fire-related drills.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what's going on. So the basis of the competition at this point is 8 different contests, which simulate some kind of basic firefighting skill.
Right.
Ladder climbing or hose handling. Some of it's competition, for example, the efficiency contest is something that Long Island and New York State firefighters have been doing as a competition since 1886.
Wow.
Yeah, we go way, 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 way back. The actual origin of the New York State Parade and Drill Team Captains Association is in the 50s.
Right.
When they really tried to solidify and sanction it. And Tom, feel free to jump in if I'm mistaken
missing
at all.
anything.
Yeah. But
Sure, and it encompasses, we break it down into 4 areas, which would be Nassau County, Suffolk County, Western New York, and Northern New York.
Right.
And those 4 bodies make up our association. We have a board. I'm currently the sitting treasurer for that board. We meet 4 times a year, and each year it's a reevaluation of our sport. How do we make it grow? What things are we doing right? What things are we not doing right? Different rule changes are voted on year to year. Safety is a huge part of it, and that's what the governing body does. And Chris works. Not only that, it's broken down into area associations. Chris is currently the president of Suffolk County Association, and all the areas work together so that we can not only put on a great show for everybody, but that we're also promoting the volunteer fire service in general.
Sure, and that's, I guess that was the next thing I was going to get into. It's probably very entertaining, but at the same time, there's got to be people watching that are saying, look at the skills these guys have. I mean, that one, it looks like fun, I mean, you definitely put on an entertaining set of events. But on top of that, anyone that might be in the audience and watching and half in the back of their head saying, maybe I should get involved. I mean, these are people on their own time. Basically what I'm watching is people on their own time, practicing the skill that's necessary to protect the communities they're a part of.
Yeah, just to that point,
Yeah.
I call this the world's craziest trust fall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's really what we're doing here is we're looking to build. This is team building. Fortune 500 companies across the nation spending a lot of money to do a whole bunch of exercises to try to build their team. And we have a built-in thing that's part of our history on Long Island and New York State for 100 years. And in an era where it's increasingly more challenging to recruit and to retain volunteers, firefighters for different departments, this is something that's built into what we do already that seems to keep those volunteers around for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years because of this love for the competition, this love for the folks who are involved in it, and a love to see your department succeed.
Yes, and to have the community support behind you. You know, so many people coming out and participating in what's essentially a great day. So given the geography of the state of New York, it's got to be tough to just host these solely in Suffolk County. I mean, this is something that you guys travel across the state. I mean, is it held predominantly in Suffolk County, or does it jump around the state? Every time these competitions come up.
Sure. So the four areas basically have a rotation right now. This year was Suffolk County's turn. The Hagerman Fire Department stepped up. They did a great job. They hosted it. So everybody from the state basically came together in Hagerman. It's always the third Saturday in August. Next year, we will be going up to. It is hosted by the Maine Transit Fire Department, which is in Amherst, New York, near Buffalo. And the following year after that, it will be in Nassau County at North Belmore. Should be hosting it in Merrick. So that's what that's what's going on right now. It rotates. Everybody gets a fair chance. It does draw a lot of people, and not only helps the fire department with the event as far as a fundraising venture, it also brings money into the community. These people are coming in. They'll be there for 4 or 5 days. Yeah. They're renting hotels. They're eating in the local restaurants, shopping in the local venues. So it's not only about the fire department. It's also about helping the community.
And that's our big drill for the year. That's the New York State Championship.
Right.
Tom mentioned a lot of folks are watching. We had about 4,500 unique viewers between our two platforms on YouTube and Facebook.
Awesome.
For the event that was last week. But in addition, regionally, there are probably about, depending on which region, maybe 6 to 10 other of those competitions, with a few more that we're going to talk about in a second. That happened with a little bit less teams, because obviously it's not everybody. From
Right. So this is the big event.
That was the big event. Was last week. The North Lyndhurst Piston Knockers walked away. Piston Knockers is the name of the team. Walked away as the champion. But that outreach across the state is another big value, because that's a networking value. To have this contact with departments across the state. Yeah. And to be able to reach out if there's something you need. I know Tom will vouch for this, but if there's something that you need from any one of those departments that you've created these friendships with throughout New York State, they'd jump at a second to help you out.
Awesome. I could say personally, my fire department, North Lyndhurst, our team did capture the state championship. I raced with the team for 20 years. I know a lot of the guys that are on the team. I raced with every one of them that are on the team. And those guys were invested, as I was, to capture that.
Right.
Unfortunately, the 20 years I raced, we did not win. The year after, they did win. But, I mean, that's the way it goes. It's just like a regular sporting event. Not everybody it wins the championship.
Right.
There's plenty of people. Don Mattingly never won with the Yankees. The year after he left,
Tom, you'd be the Don Mattingly of New York State Drill Team.
That's what we're getting. That's what we're getting at. It was the weak link in the chain that had to go.
Oh, right? He doesn't want to hear that. He doesn't want to hear that.
Well, let me tell you this: that they won the year before I was there, and they won the year after. So maybe,
buddy, you're breaking my heart.
But you got to be proud, because I mean, these are I jest with you, but these are people that you not only work with, but you trained. So you can see your legacy and the work that you did there captured in this victory.
I mean, even when I held the highest position in the department, being the chief, strong supporter, because I knew that the world of fire department drill team brought in young members. It attracted them, and it kept them. And there'll always be a special place in my heart for the team. I have a piston logo tattooed on my body, so that's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And I know the value that this does, not just for my fire department, but for the fire departments across the state.
No, it's great. And, when you talk about volunteerism, just in general, you're seeing, there's been stories in the newspaper not too long ago, not super recent, but not too long ago, talking about how some of these volunteer jobs, not just in the fire service, but, especially when you get into, sports volunteerism, people are taking such heat from the community, it's yelling at the ref, yelling at the coach, everything else. People are quitting, so a competition like this that brings people in, keeps them in, the support of the community being there, cheering you on, everything else. You're designing a program that's going to work, because you can't not have firefighters. You need them,
And you mentioned that, that the support from the community and with hope, this is the time that the community would see their fire department. You know, we hope that no one ever has to call out the fire department for their house being on fire.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so in a lot of ways, and for a lot of folks, this is the biggest example of who their fire department is, what their fire department is, how successful they are. There's a lot of value in being able to show off the efficiency of your fire department. This is a great way to do that. You know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys have another event coming up. So it's Sunday morning. So tomorrow, actually, you've got another event coming up. The Andrew McCaffrey Memorial Charity Drill. Did I get the date right?
September 22nd.
Awesome.
September 22nd, 1 p.m. It's going to be at the Central Islip facility, which is 110 Wheeler Road in Central Islip.
Nice.
Anybody who wants more information about the location or directions, start times, and the schedule can go to nysdrillteams.com. I'll plug that a few times
Awesome.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
But this event is a charity drill. It's a charity drill where all the proceeds go to the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. Firefighter Cancer Support Network is an organization that was created to both educate and support firefighters with cancer. It's a national organization, but our fundraiser is going towards the local chapter, the Long Island chapter.
Sure. So, I guess, how did it start? Why Andrew McCaffrey?
Well, Andrew McCaffrey was actually, I'm actually in the position that he would have been holding for Suffolk County.
Right.
He was very involved. He's a past chief of the Cutchogue Fire Department and a commissioner of the Cutchogue Fire Department. And he passed away from stomach cancer a little more than 2 years ago. And he loved this competition. He loved this game. And we found that this was a great way to remember him, to remember his legacy. And he was, when we knew things were getting close and he was sick, we actually ran one of these drills before it was named in his honor. Right. And we asked him where he would want to see those the proceeds go, and he named the network right away. So that's his charity. So that's our charity. Awesome. And it means a lot to be able to put together an event that will recognize him and remember his legacy.
And that kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about how through these competitions, you meet people from other fire departments. And I knew Andrew way before I worked for the county and didn't know that he worked for the county. He was an AME member. He worked at Suffolk Fire Rescue as an emergency service dispatcher. Years later, we would work together. Drew and I had a friendship before, during, and still to this day. He's always in my thoughts. But he represented that whole brotherhood, and that grows from us doing these type of competitions, and now that we can honor him in just some small way. And there'll be people involved in this competition that weren't in the fire department then, don't know anything about it, but they'll leave there knowing something about Drew. Yeah,
no, that's great. And the fire service is something I've said about AME a lot, but it's definitely true of the fire service as well. Altruism is one of the core personality traits. Putting yourself in a position to help others before you consider yourself. I mean, that's absolutely firefighters' a core trait, and we see that inside of AME as well. And a number of AME members are volunteer firefighters. They're also volunteering in various other aspects inside their community. But there is a need in Suffolk County, pretty much everywhere, but definitely in Suffolk County, for that group of people that are willing to put themselves in a position to help other people, to help build community, protect community. I think that's very important, and we're definitely proud of all of our members that go out and do that. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a couple of AME members at the hosting fire department. Am I mistaken on that?
As far as the one that we did that for the state drill for Hageman, yes, that was unique. And again, something I found out after we decided we were going to try to help promote this event, to find out that Hagerman, like many other fire departments, They have 3 chiefs, a chief and 2 assistants. And the chief of the department is an AME member, retired in 2017. The 2 assistant chiefs are both current AME members, and one of the spouses of one of the chiefs is also an AME member. So they were very happy with all the work that we had done to help promote this event, and thankful, and really just, I think, made them realize that AME's not just concerned about you when you're working on the clock.
Right.
It's the stuff that you're doing out in the community for your neighbors.
Sure.
This drill team competition organization is a family in a lot of ways. I've known Tom for 20 years.
Right.
He's a close friend. And that relationship, it kind of appears the same as an AME. Just learning to work with you guys the last couple of weeks.
Sure.
There's a lot of connection between the members, for the drill team family as well. And it seems like it's a good fit. It matches up very well with our priorities.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think it is because of that community-minded altruism that runs deep in both camps. In the volunteer firefighting world and in municipal government. If you want to get rich, you take a different type of job. If you care about people and you want to look after people, you seek out jobs like the ones in Suffolk County AME members have, or the ones that the Volunteer Fire Association members, they participate in.
Agreed.
So, Chris, I want to talk to you a little bit about broadcasting. This is something you're familiar with, I understand.
I mean, if you want to consider kind of self-taught, yeah. But we've been broadcasting for about 10 years,
right?
Quote unquote. There was always a market,
sure,
for what was happening at the competition, And it used to be, obviously before the advent of the internet or a lot of these other opportunities, it used to be that your best option was somebody to go find a payphone and call in the results in between contests down to Long Island when you were up in Buffalo or something like that.
Sure.
And it was really the only way to find out,
Right.
And now we've evolved to we have watch parties across the country.
Yep.
I mentioned before we had 4,500 unique viewers.
Right.
Of our broadcast 2 weeks ago of the New York State Drill. We had about 2,500 to 3,000 people on site between the firemen and the viewers. Our broadcast, the Drillcast, as we like to call it,
right,
has a lot of outreach at this point, and it's probably the thing that helps us get the message out and the word out about the positive aspects of what we do throughout the summer.
Sure.
And broadcasting wise, it's been a little bit of trial and error. It's been a little bit of lessons learned, and it's cool to be in a place like this that does it right, because I get to steal a couple ideas and go from there. But it's certainly a growing project, and we're continuing to try to improve what we're putting out to people.
Sure. And I've seen some of the stuff that you've done, and as an amateur that just jumped in and is self-taught as well, I think you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
And I think it's very important work. When you broadcast something like this across the country, that positive effect that we have locally in terms of maybe hitting that light switch for somebody and saying, I need to get involved. Well, now you're doing that coast to coast. So you're helping other communities, not just the one you're in. It's commendable.
Sure, and we have people who watch from around the world, actually. We've got multiple folks deployed across the country, across the world, I should say, and with the military, who watch whenever they get a chance, and that alone is worth it right there,
Sure.
But we do have a broad worldwide audience. It's pretty neat to be able to look at the stats and figures and see where people are watching from and go from there.
Yeah.
But it's tough work. It's a labor of love, but we really love where we've taken the show at this point.
And no pun intended, it's not the only hat you wear.
True.
But additionally, you're a fire commissioner. Let's talk a little bit about those responsibilities.
So the fire commissioner position is that's the taxpayer elected position for each fire district. So generally, if your community has a fire district, which most do, there's 5 or sometimes 7 elected local representatives of the community whose responsibility is to ensure fire protection for the folks who live there. Okay, and there's a small tax levy, and in return for that, our responsibility is to make sure that when You call 911, somebody shows up to help you put out your fire or resolve your emergency, your
Right.
CO detector, or your gas leak. There's a lot more that fire departments do than just just firefighting. But so my job is to make sure that the fire department is getting the job done.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's the relationship you have with the chief of the Central Islip Fire Department?
Well, the chief of the Central Islip Fire Department is my cousin Patrick Murphy.
So
and,
horrible.
Yeah. It's
Just
terrible.
awful.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. Well, unless anybody else is coming at us, then all of a
Right.
sudden we go back to back and we
Yes.
fight for each other. But otherwise, him and I are born 4 months apart. We joined the fire department 2 months apart,
Nice. Okay.
and we're parallel lives. The two, him
Right.
and I. He's gonna laugh that I'm talking about him like this. We both have 2 kids under 3. We both went to teach originally at St. Joseph's College.
Nice.
I picked a different career path, but him and I are very much alike, and it's a good relationship to have. Obviously, between the commissioner and the chief, to have a good working relationship. And the truth
Sure.
is, most fire departments are
Very-
family based.
very- yeah.
This is a generational thing, and that's not to go too deep into that, but that's
Yeah.
how we got involved. That's my father, his father, both joined when they were 17 years old, and they joined because our grandfather had been a member for 25 years at
Right.
that point, and so when I turned 17, 18 years old, it wasn't really wasn't up to me.
Right.
It was I loved it. This is what
That's
I grew
great.
up watching from when I was
Yeah.
7 years old. So
If you grow up in Central Islip and your last name is Murphy or Miller, you have to join the fire
you're
department.
you're required to join the
Right.
fire department.
Right.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
So, and I guess a little bit of the competitive spirit that these drills represent, that was born into the department as well. With you and your cousin having such similar lives, and
Without
and
doubt. Yeah,
so
and
it's great.
him and I were members of our junior fire department.
Right.
And for folks who are interested and who have kids who are younger than 17, reach out to your local fire department because about 15 to 20 departments, even more if you include the Explorer programs, have a program that's available to local kids that will teach them firefighting. It'll teach them these competitions. And the love for this competition came out of that when
Sure.
him and I were 8 years old till 17, being in the junior fire department.
Right.
And that competition happens as well throughout Suffolk County throughout the summer and throughout Suffolk mostly. But
And you're teaching some intangible things as well. There's the skill of being a firefighter, but it's that community, right? And that drive to be a part of something bigger than yourself. I think that's very valuable. And also something very necessary. So when you talk about being a commissioner, you're not talking about working with a group of people that are mandated to do specific things. It's a volunteer force.
sure.
So they really have to want to be a part of it, and they have to want to be part of their community and protect their neighbors and the community as a whole. So I think it's very valuable, especially when you talk about the junior fire service, something that can add to someone's life overall, no matter what they end up doing. Those intangible skills that they learn in the fire department, I think, are going to be valuable for life.
Agreed. Some of my closest friends were guys that I met when I was 8 years old. My buddy Justin Cray is getting married tomorrow night, and I'm at his wedding party.
Nice.
And him and I were junior hobos when we were 8 years old, and that's how our relationship got started. And we've been best of friends ever since.
Awesome.
And I could say that about 5 or 6 guys that all kind of grew up through that organization. And there's a different timeline where our paths didn't necessarily go that way.
Right.
That there's a lot of kids out there who struggle.
Yeah.
And sometimes they need a place to be, a place to belong. And the junior fire department really gives a lot of those kids that opportunity. It gives your kid the best shot to
Sure.
stay out of trouble.
Absolutely. Not only stay out of trouble, but grow.
And
Absolutely.
when he says hobos, that is Central Islip's team name. Not that
Oh.
he was living with Boxcar Willie.
Oh.
They do have a Willie, and he possibly could live in a
With that
boxcar.
stick on the rope.
That's what
the bag.
right.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry, I should be more specific sometimes.
Each
but yeah.
each team has their name. A lot of them are very colorful. Piston knockers, hobos, dead end kids. There's a million of them.
Gamblers, the
Right.
bandits. Yeah,
Right.
and
It goes
But it's
on
all,
and on.
tongue in cheek and fun.
you're talking about a name, for example, Central Islip, a name that's
Right.
been around for 75 years.
Right.
So there's a ton of history.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what helps continue to do what we do is that
Sure.
history.
And, getting involved means getting involved in that history also. So when you step in and become part of this, you're not becoming, you're becoming part of something with long history and roots in the community. So you're going to make connections, learn about people, learn about the businesses in the neighborhood. You're going to learn about, how buildings are made. You have to have some understanding of how buildings are made and how they stand when you're going to go in and combat a fire. You're going to know what areas to avoid, what areas that you need to go to. So there's a lot to gain.
Yeah, and those tools, right? That there's a skill set here that seems to, and I wasn't necessarily like the biggest handyman growing up, but for the volunteer firefighter or for a firefighter in general, there's a skill set that you have to have when it comes to working with tools, understanding construction, just being physical and working with your hands. That is something that is in deep need right now in the labor force. So those skills alone, just being able to learn how to get work done, is something that firefighters pride themselves on doing. It's something that your kids could learn getting involved in that as well.
And solving problems.
Oh, absolutely.
Well
And
said.
you know what? Not for nothing, also understanding the difference between what is a problem and what is maybe a worry, right? So something Tom and I have discussed before is the difference between what a person perceives as an emergency and what is an actual emergency. And when you're talking about fire services, those are real emergencies.
Yeah, we call that triage in our
Sure.
business. Yeah. And it's a real thing. You have to learn what's the priority. And that's
Right.
that's a skill set alone. Being able to know what problems to try to solve first.
But to be able to let somebody know, when they feel like something is, so overwhelming to them, you say, listen, it's not a fire. I mean, that phrase actually comes from,
Literally,
that exact distinction of, when something is vital versus, like, well, I'm really upset about, X.
Sure.
So again, just another thing that someone can gain from being part of the fire service. So I just want to ask one more thing, just getting back to your role as the fire commissioner. I just want to, understand some of the challenges that might be faced in, Central Islip, the fire district there. Just for our listeners to help understand, what it really is that you guys are doing behind the scenes.
Well, this drill team competition is one example of the things that your fire department is doing throughout the year. Outside of even performing those vital emergency services or in partnership with those things, for example, our fire department every year, we're the ones who put up the Christmas tree in the middle of town and decorate
Sure.
it and help bring Santa Claus. Santa Claus stops off at our place and
Yes.
then jumps on the rig and we take him down to the tree lighting ceremony. And that's just one example of the fire department playing multiple roles in your community.
Right.
Not just being the primary emergency responder along with your EMS provider, or sometimes in addition, or sometimes your fire department does that as well.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, just being like an all hands, ready to help community organization, and in a lot of ways, I'm sure that I can speak for a lot of fire departments, but they tend to be the backbone of their local communities.
Sure.
Because you have a ready-made group of people who are already willing to do something to help without having to be paid for it.
Awesome.
But from a challenges standpoint, there's always room for help. There's always room for folks who are willing to do that help, even if it's not jumping into a fire truck and heading into a burning building. Your fire department's doing so much. Besides just that action, besides just those activities
Sure.
to help the community. So if you're available and you're willing, come on down and sign up for an application and help out.
Awesome. And there's a lot of education that goes into this as well, educating the community about different things that they, I remember when I was young, it was the fire department in my neighborhood that was basically sending out pamphlets to everyone saying, stop storing oily rags in your garage,
Sure.
And at the time, everybody did it, you
Sure.
know? So there's that education component. I do want to just jump back again, give you another opportunity to talk about the upcoming event and how to how to get people there. What time, what location.
So the event, again, the Andrew McCaffrey Memorial Charity Drill, 1 p.m., September 22nd, Central Islip's facility. You can get the information from nysdrillteams.com. $20 suggested donation, includes food and drink. And a little bit of entertainment. We'll even have, I don't know, I was going to say we'll have the NFL games on in the back, but I don't know if I can do that. They might come after me. It's a not-for-profit.
There'll be a sporting event on.
Sorry, Roger Goodell. It's a not-for-profit. Stay off me. Stay off my back. Sorry, thanks. All right, anyway, so...
I mean, it is in week 3, and some Jets or Giants fans could both be done with their team, so it's a great, it's a great outlet to go out on Sunday afternoon
you got
and
nothing
find
going
something
on.
else
It's week
to do.
3, and both teams are 0-2 at that point. So. But anyway, come on down. It helps a great cause. It's a great little fall event for kids. The kids under 12 are free. So
Awesome.
so if you got them, come on, bring them down, and we'll show them a little bit of what this competition's about and give them some more information on how to get involved in their local fire department.
Awesome. Well, Chris, Tom, thank you both for joining us today. We look forward to working more with you guys in the future and helping get word out and increase participation in what it is fire service is about. And for our listeners, we'll speak to you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.